What is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're talking about the Toronto Raptors. They have been one of the hottest teams in the league recently. They've won 12 of their last 13 games. They are on absolute fire right now. We're going to talk all about the Raptors here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Links to my Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, I don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we're talking about the Toronto Raptors today because they have been scorching hot recently. They've won 12 of their last 13 games. They're currently on an 8-game win streak. And right now, they're 13-5 and have the second best record in the East. And overall, I think the fourth best record in the NBA, fifth best record. Like, they have been just going crazy recently. After a start where they started off the season 5-5. I'm sorry, no, they started the season 1-4. They won their first game of the year, went on a 4-game losing streak, and then they went on a 4-game win streak, lost against Philly. That's the only loss in this stretch. They lost to the Sixers. But besides that, I mean, yeah, won 12 of their last 13. They have been going crazy. And they've really, I feel like, figured out how to play. I feel like the first couple games of the season, they were still trying to figure things out. What lineups will work best, what rotational, pieces work best. I didn't love the defense early on in the year. I feel like they weren't really giving that much of an effort on the defense side of the ball. You look at some of these scores, they give up at least 120 points in 4 of the first 5 games, including 2 games they gave up 139 points. They gave 139 points to the Dallas Mavericks in one of their games. Like, defensively, they just were not locked in. I feel like that's been a big, piece of this team is defensively. They started to figure out things. But also, yeah, they got a contribution from a lot of guys. Their starting lineup is really, really good, Diving into the team numbers, first of all, right now they have the 6th best offense and 7th best defense in the league and overall 5th in net rating. They're one of 6 teams with be top 10 in both offense and defense. So they've been a very balanced team on both sides of the ball. Look at their offensive numbers first of all. They actually have been an explosive, kind of a little bit of a high-scoring offense, surprisingly. You think this team would be more of a half-court type of team with all the bucket getters and stuff they have on their team, but no, they've learned how to kind of play fast, play in transition, and get easy ones. Right now, they're 6th in points per game. They average over 120 points per game. They're 4th in field goals made, despite only being 22nd in field goal attempts. So they're one of the more efficient shooting teams in the league too. They shoot over 50% from the field. They're 3rd in field goal percentage. They're not a high volume 3-point shooting team. I mean, we could probably expect that with the roster they have. They're 23rd in 3-pointers made and 27th in 3-point attempts, but they're 6th in 3-point percentage. They're shooting almost 38% from 3. So when they get the shots, they're making them. That's all you need to do. It's kind of like what I talked about the Rockets last week, where it's like the Rockets they take some of the least amount of threes in the league, but they make them. So that's all that matters if they're going in, right? They're 2nd in assists. They average over 30 assists per game. I really like that the ball is popping for them. We've seen the last couple games. I feel like there's no guy truly like dominating the ball. It feels like everybody's kind of bought into this offensive system. They have a lot of guys that are willing passers, and I feel like the ball is popping for them. They're 5th in turnovers. They only average 14 turnovers. So 30 assists to 14 turnovers. That's a pretty good ratio. When you're passing the ball very well, you're not turning the ball over. They're 5th in true shooting percentage. They shoot over 60% from the field as a team. They're 1st in fast break points. They average almost 21 fast break points per game. So they play fast. If they get opportunities to run in transition and go get easy ones, they're going to do it. That's been a huge factor in this team being this good, is they run in transition and they get so many easy points. So when you get easy points like that, and they're not a high turnover team too, so they're not a team that gives up a lot of fast break points, you're already winning. That's a big margin differential right there. If you're getting so many easy ones and not giving up so many easy ones, that's big right there. Combine that with, shooting the ball very well. They're 3rd in points to the paint. They average over 54 points to the paint too. So they just do so many things well offensively. Look at how they score specifically. Transition. They're 3rd in transition possessions, and they're 3rd in transition points overall as totals. So transition, they do that. They shoot over 52% for the field in transition, and only a 10.7% transition turnover percentage, which is almost bottom 5 in the league. So they have the 3rd most amount of transition points while being one of the lowest turnover teams in transition too. So when they get transition opportunities, they're going to make them count and make them work, They average 1.32 points per possession on handoffs, which leads the league, and shoot over 54.5% on them, which is 1st in the league. They average 1.26 points per possession off screens, which is 1st in the league. They shoot over 51% off screens, which is first in the league. So transition, handoffs, off screens, they do all that really well. They pass the ball really well. They're an efficient shooting team. So offensively, they just do so many different things. They have so many great offensive players, that not only can score but also can shoot the ball and also can pass the ball very well. We're gonna get more into player specific in a minute. But yeah, offensively they do so many good things. And then don't forget, this is a good defensive team too. They're not just an offensive superpower. They can defend too. They're fourth in opponent field goals made, fifth in opponent field goal attempts, and top 10 in opponent field goal percentage. So they guard up really well. They're fourth in opponent three pointers made, even though they're 18th in opponent 3-point attempts. But teams aren't making threes on them. They're fourth in opponent 3-point percentage. Teams are only shooting 32% from three. So, they give up an average amount of threes and teams just aren't making them. They're 10th in opponent rebounds, 7th in opponent assists, 8th in opponent turnovers. They average over almost 16 and a half turnovers per game that they get. Overall, they're 7th in opponent points. They average a little bit under 113 and a half points they give up per game. They're 6th in opponent points off turnovers. They average almost 17 points per game off turnovers. And their third opponent fast break points, teams only give up 13 turnovers per game. So defensively, they hit all the marks. They don't give up a lot of field goals. They're solid 3-point shooting defense. They force turnovers. They don't give up a lot of rebounds. They just do the basic things defensively. And yeah, that's what this team really is. They're just doing the basic things very well. They've really caught fire. I feel like again, they've really emphasized in like finding what their style of play is. I feel like coming into the year, that was the big question mark with this new roster, adding in a Brandon Ingram, with this big four, kind of a Scotty, Bi, RJ, and IQ, all guys like play kind of similar ways and all kind of need the ball in their hands a little bit to work, all not being insanely plus 3-point shooters. A lot of their guys like to get to the mid range or get to the basket. How is it going to look? How is it going to be crowded? How's the ball going to be divvied up? Who's going to be the lead guy? Who's going to be the one to take a step back? How's this bench going to fit in with a bunch of bench guys that are in their second or third year still trying to figure out how to fit in the NBA? What is their play style going to be? And recently they found their play style where it's like, we're going to play fast. Any opportunity to get in transition, we're going to get. We're going to guard up defensively. And we have a bunch of guys that can create for themselves and for others. And it's really working. Brandon Ingram. I love how Brandon Ingram has played so far this year. Last night, he just shot 37 on the Cavs. Had his best game of the year last night. Overall in the year, he's giving you 21, 5, and 4 with a steal on decent efficiency. And I just like the pace he's playing with. He's playing very smooth. He's getting it in the flow of the offense. He's kind of been a lead ball handler a lot of times too, but he can also play off the ball. He's been catching, shooting a lot of threes this year. But he also has been able to be a guy where it's like, all right, Scotty's out. Okay, Bi, it's your turn. And Bi's gonna go and he's gonna be the main ball handler. He can, make good passes, make good reads. He can get to the mid range and score. They empower him to get to the mid range and go get buckets like that. He can drive to the basket. Like he's just been used in so many different ways this year. And I think it's really working right now for him. Like he has been playing as some of the best basketball he's played in a very long time. So Bi's been doing his thing. Scotty Barnes also, I like with the way they're using him. Coming into the year, I expected him to kind of be a little bit of like a point guard, a little bit kind of like the main point guard. He's averaging 19, 7 and 5 with 1.5 steals and over 1.5 blocks. He's shooting 51, 40, 82. He's been having a very underrated season in my opinion. I think defensively he's been super locked in. He's one of the guys that can guard so many different positions with his height and skill set and his wingspan. He's a very unique player, and he's been doing it on the defensive side of the ball. But offensively, he's also a guy that you can put in so many different spots too. I mean, he's a guy that can be the lead ball handler and make the right passes. He can rebound the ball well. He can score in the mid range. He can get to the basket and score. The 3-point shooting has been good this year. He's not taking a whole bunch of them, but when he takes them, he's making them, which is a great thing. Like he's been used kind of basically in every way possible. I feel like he's kind of been used. Like he's used as the lead guy, the off-ball guy with Brandon Ingram. Him and IQ have been used together. Him and Scotty have been used together. Him and the big man. Like he's one of those guys where you feel like you can plug and play almost anywhere, and you'd feel confident that he's gonna figure something out because he's just a high IQ basketball player. Just has such a really good, unique skill set with his size, and he's really been doing it. I feel like he's been having such an underrated season, in my opinion. And then RJ Barrett and IQ, those are the two kind of like wild cards a little bit for me. Is how is RJ after RJ had such a big start to the year last season and then kind of cooled off a little bit, but they had so many injuries that he kind of was forced to be the main guy. Now it's Scotty and Bi back. How does he fit into this role? And honestly, I like what I've seen from RJ Barrett. Like, I feel like out of the guys that have kind of like sacrificed, I feel like he's been the one that's kind of sacrificed a little bit more. But it's working. I mean, he's giving you 19, 4 and 3 on 50, 35, 72 shooting splits. I feel like he's been the guy that's kind of been like, all right, I'll play off ball. If you need me to play off ball, I'll play off ball. He's been catching shooting a lot more. He's taking the second most amount of threes on the team, um, behind Emmanuel quickly. He's been able to adapt to playing with different guys, but also when he gets his turn and opportunity, he's been able to get to the basket, and shoot very efficiently at the basket. He's been able to pass the ball. He's been able to lock in defensively. He has his moments sometimes where he takes over games. Like, I really like what I've seen from RJ. I feel like he's really adapted to this situation in this new team. I feel like he's been the one that's kind of been like, all right, I'll take the step back. I'll take the ball in my hands a little bit more for BI and for Scotty to do their thing. But when I get my opportunity, I'm going to make it count. That's what he's done. And they made it quickly. He had a really tough start to the year. He just could not find his shot early. And now he's kind of starting to figure it out. He's had a couple games where I feel like he's like has some big shots in some fourth quarters. And has won the game for them. Yeah. You look over um this streak that he's had, particularly in the last, what is this, 8 games? No, sorry, 9 games. In the last 9 games, yeah, he's had three 20-point games. Over the last 9 games, he's shooting 44% from three, 52% from the field. He's averaging 17, 5, and 5. He's had a couple 20-point games, a couple games with 6 to 7 assists. He's had multiple threes in almost every game besides last night against Cleveland. He had a really, really tough shooting night. But besides that, he's hit at least 2 or 3 threes in all those games. He's really starting to find his shot, and find his rhythm a little bit on this team. Again, I feel like he's had some huge shots in some fourth quarters in some of these games. Him and I feel like him and Scotty play together really, really well. He's been coming off screens. He's been using the big men to help out a lot. He's been passing the ball very well. So Mayor quickly's found his role. And then we have the others. Jakob is always going to be a very solid big man. He gives you 11 and 8 per game. Just does solid things, shooting 73% of the field. And then Sandro Mamu Kalashvili. Mamu has been looking like one of the better signings. They signed him for like what, dang near a minimum, I feel like, or a little bit over a minimum. And right now he's giving you 10, 4, and almost 2 assists on 44% shooting from three. He's always been a very solid basketball player, but he just really fits this team. He just gives a new life coming off the bench. I think yesterday he started, or did he yesterday start, or the day before he started because Jakob missed the game. But he came in and started and was really, really good. And yeah, he just shoots the ball efficiently. He can stretch the floor and shoot from three. He can handle the ball a little bit. He makes really good passes. If he can get in there rebounding, you could switch so many things with him defensively because he can move his feet and his athletics. Different from Jakob who's more of a drop, just big body, big. He's more of like an athletic, I could switch out into a wing and move my feet a little bit type of wing, type of big man. And so he's been such a great big piece to this team too. He just gives another dynamic to this offense. The rest of the bench has had their moments. Colin Murray Boyles, so far he has had a really solid start to his rookie year. He has missed a couple games. But when he comes in, he's an undersized big, but he plays bigger than what he is. He's not been afraid to get to the basket, not been afraid to shoot. Defensively, he really fits into. Grady Dick has had his moments here and there. Jamal Shed, I really like as a backup point guard. Just a tough, gritty guy that's gonna, defend. He's been passing the ball very, very well. He averages like 5 assists to 1 turnover. He's been really efficiently passing, shooting the 3 ball well. You got that. And yeah, I mean the bench isn't as powerful. Like Grady Dick still, needs some development. Jacoby Walters still trying to find his way. Ochai Baji still trying to find his, rhythm. He's not shooting the ball very well. But I mean, when you have this starting five of so many guys that can create for themselves and create for others, like what Bi, RJ, Scotty, and IQ can do, and then what Mamu can bring you off the bench, like they have so much, they have some firepower here. And this team has been really impressive recently. They've been winning a lot of games, a lot of great games. They had a couple blowouts, a couple close wins. They've been beating good teams, bad teams. Like they just have been able to take care of business. You know what I mean? And it's been super impressive to see them kind of so quickly figure it out. Like that 4 game losing streak, that 1-4 start, it looked like, dang, okay, this team probably is not going to be as good. We're thinking about, okay, who's maybe going to be on the move? Are they going to trade RJ finally? Are they going to, like, what's going to happen? And now quickly they just flip the switch and kind of really figured out, okay, we have to do this, this, and this to win. and that's been super impressive to me. So yeah, is this team a contender? I wouldn't say that yet. I still feel like again they have some things to work on. I still think that the depth isn't as great as a lot of contending teams do, and I like to see them go through a little bit more. I mean, it's still November. We're not even at Thanksgiving yet. We got to see a lot more from this team, and before we crown them as contenders and one of the best teams in the league or whatever. But I mean, right now they've been super impressive. They've been again maybe one of the hottest teams in the league. 12 of their last 13 is no joke. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how this team continues to grow. How their four players kind of still adapt to each other and how they really figure out how to play together. And yeah, I'm just gonna you gotta keep your eye on the Raptors. It's been really fun. The fan base has been really into it. The team's been really into it. This is probably the most fun Raptors team they've had in a while. It's probably the most fun team they've had in a while, the most joy they've had in a while. So shout out to the Raptors for doing their thing. Let's see how well they can continue this. But yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.